What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we have a number of topics, mostly talking about some of the stuff that I've been shooting analog lately, starting with some slide film, E2 process. It dawned on me recently that some people that are younger don't even really know what slide film is, and I know the older people are going to be like, bah, kids these days, but to me, I relate it to driving a stick or writing cursive. If you live in the US, there's no reason to learn how to drive a stick. Almost no cars have it. I happen to drive one myself, but that doesn't make me better or different than anyone else. And there's no reason you should be spending time in school learning cursive when you should be learning how to use a computer. So anyways, you have to remember that slide film almost completely disappeared for a while. You know, Kodak had it where it was completely discontinued till they brought some back because of the popularity of film. And also a lot of kids, you have to remember, or I say kids, whatever, younger people send their film off to a lab, get their pictures back, don't even really realize that what color negative film or C41 or what all the processes are. Everyone's not a nerd like me. They don't have to care about every little detail. And when it comes to the labs, they don't even send you your negatives back unless you request it, most of them these days. The drugstores don't give you your negatives at all, for the record. I actually showed some slide film to a friend who's come in a couple times to buy some film and get some scans done. And he was like, oh wow, this is amazing. Especially when you see 120 slide film, it just looks so cool, those colors and everything like that. So I had a couple rolls. One was in a camera, half shot. I talked about this in an earlier video. I didn't realize it was slide film and I had a red filter on it, but my negatives came back looking pretty wild. This was Retro 400 from Film Photography Project. So already kind of a, not experimental film, but odd film. But yeah, my slides came back looking very, very thin, overexposed. And then the second half had a red filter. I had sent these off to Memphis Film Lab. I had asked them not to color correct that roll because, I don't know, I messed it up, I knew. And so I kind of just wanted to see what it looked like in the scans. And then when I got the scans back, I'm like, this is kind of crazy. I need to wait till I actually get my slides back to see what's going on here. I'm scanning, here's a couple like before and after. There's a couple that I brought back. They go wildly grainy and stuff like that because of overcompensating with the software and all that stuff, but take a look at them. Some are still kind of cool. I'm still gonna post some of them, and it was already kind of a film that's gonna give you a unique look. So I started this roll so long ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that I don't remember what I did, why it's so off. It kind of is what it is type deal. Brought back what I could, got rid of the rest, made mistakes. I also, one of the things is I wanted to see what Memphis Film Lab scans look like. This doesn't really help me much because my film is so poorly exposed. The other thing I had was a roll of Velvia in my fridge. I did not really remember shooting it, but I was pretty sure that I mean, I don't remember when or where, but I'm pretty sure I shot it when I sent it off. So I sent that to them too, and I got their better scans for that because I love Velvia and the way it looks. I wanted to see what their high quality scans look like. This roll is wild to me. All the highlights are completely blown and everything, which is how slide film is. If you poorly expose it, you need to expose for the highlights, unlike with color negative film where you expose for the shadows. I got this roll back and I'm going through, I got the scans first, so I'm going through it and I'm like, man, anything with highlights is completely blown. Just overexpose this whole roll. But then I got the stuff without highlights that is perfectly exposed. I learned kind of nothing here because, you know, is this a light meter situation? Was this Velvia expired? Does it, the fact that the Velvia, you know, I kept it well in the fridge for a while, but it is slide film, professional slide film. What happened? Still post some and brought some back, but this is not at all what it should be. And see this rose one here that came out perfect. It makes no sense. But I mean, I guess the sense that it doesn't have any highlights in it. So interesting, but when I went and looked at Velvia I've shot before, I have Velvia that I've shot with skies in the background in the fall. It's not that I'm a bad photographer. I realize there's something going on here that I'll unfortunately never know. But getting down to kind of an interesting thing, there's not a lot of people around who are doing E2 process, slide film process anymore. Memphis Film Lab near Cleveland is one of the only local ones. Obviously there's places like the Darkroom and other big labs that will still do it, but nowhere that I could just drive to get my stuff done unless I wanted to go all the way up to Cleveland. So I was looking at the pricing, and so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. One roll with the standard scans was $12. One roll with their ultra scans was $15. Resolution is great and all that. Like I said, I can't really comment on overall. The quality is good. It's great. It's just I gave them bad film. But and then so to get my negatives, oh, they're not negatives, they're slides, they're positive, back was $6, and I looked to ship my film to them was $5. So I'm coming in with their cost being $35.64, and then add on my $5, so $40, you know, average that 20 bucks a roll to get slide film developed right now. That's not unreasonable. It's just more than I really want to pay. So I feel like if I'm going to shoot slide film anymore, I would shoot a number of rolls, get chemicals and develop them myself. Where that comes in with the lab, doing it for other people, I think I would have to get busy enough where it was like, hey, we'll do slide film once a month or once every other month. Or I would let customers know, I will take this, and when we have enough, we will develop it. Or if some people brought in a couple rolls, then maybe I would shoot a couple rolls to make it worthwhile. But yeah, for right now, slide film is something I'm probably not gonna mess with, not because I messed up these 2 rolls, just because what it takes to get it developed right now. I can't just run it out to Campus Camera or something, since they don't do E2 process. The other thing is the slides aren't mounted anymore. You just get them back in a roll, which is kind of fine. But I guess, you know, I think I caught the tail end of good lab services. Not that their lab services aren't good, I should say old school lab services. So it almost cost me nothing extra to get my slides mounted when I started getting back into photography. And I'm not talking back in the heyday, I'm talking 10 years ago. So, you know, well into the digital era. So it's a little bit of a bummer not to get them mounted anymore. But I don't know who does that. I think Darkroom will do it for a fee. So I have now taken in a couple rolls of black and white to develop and scan for people. Then I've also been dropped off film that was already developed, black and white, to scan for people. So I've been able to experiment or dial in my settings. But what I wanted to do before I got that stuff is I made sure that I ran a couple rolls of black and white through my cameras so I could go back through my process. You know, I've developed a ton of black and white, but I wanted to make sure my negatives were coming out clean. I had a place to dry them. I was scanning them clean before I would charge anyone else for that work. So I shot a couple rolls of expired TMax 400. I ran one through this point and shoot Yashica, which is just a very cheap, I think they go for like 30 bucks. They never went for a lot back in the day either, but just a good way to get a roll through a camera and get some fun shots of friends. I haven't had a point and shoot that I've been using for a while. My old Minolta that I got for my birthday years ago died. I had a couple Nikon L35 AFs that I loved. Those both died. So I was looking through my different stuff, and I think I have a couple more retro ones. I want to see if they work, but I popped 2 AA's into this Yashica, which is nice that it just takes AA's, and tested it. Everything seemed to be working. So ran a roll through that with just some bike friends. And then I flatbed scanned that, and I was like, wow, this quality with the Epson is horrible. So if you have a flatbed scanner, one thing to note is that you need to see where the optical resolution is versus what they say the max is, because I think some people might not be realizing it has an optical limit, and above that it's just using software. And if you want to enlarge your photos, you're better off doing that yourself in Photoshop or some other software. Don't let old scanning software just be blowing it up for no reason. So I think the optical quality on that is 2400. When I look at it on Instagram, it's fine at that scale. But when I saw that, I'm like, I would have a hard time passing this quality off to customers, even for the more budget level of scan. So I had a $5 option. I think I'm just gonna get rid of that, up it to $7, and use that kind of resolution on the Nikon, which is just a much better scanner. I mean, I feel like you're actually seeing the grain. Like a couple people comment on Instagram with these photos, like, hey, I still kind of like that like rough, grainy look. And I'm like, yeah, part of that is that it's expired film. Part of that is the negatives came out thin for that reason. So even, you know, my scanning software, my software is bumping it up. But the thing is, it's just not quality. And there's marks in it. It's not scanning it all smooth. There was even some color distortion, which of course you could just take out with the saturation slider, but not what I want, not what I could give someone. And I shot the other roll with my XD11, kind of just doing some classic black and white photography around town. I was really happy with some of these images. I thought they came out kind of cool. They came out clean enough for what I'm trying to accomplish here. Did some of the brutalist architecture in downtown Akron and stuff like that. So anyways, the good news is I like some of these photos. I scanned these on the Nikon and the flatbed, and so I could compare the difference, and it's so obvious. This is just definitely the way to go. It's the way I would have to do it. There is a time and a place to still use the flatbed because I could put so much more film in there. I think, what, 4 strips of 6, and it's just a faster process, and it's set it and forget it. But that really has to be like some stuff where I know that the quality is just not that much of an issue, or the way it's going to be viewed. Like, I think I might still do that with like my point and shoot other point and shoot work as I test some more stuff to worry about developing and stuff like that more, where I'm going to be inspecting the negative and not so worried about the scanning. So a customer brought me really well developed black and white negatives, and those I also threw on the flatbed, and I was like, still, nope, that's what I had told him I was going to do and told him I was going to charge him for, and I still put him into the Nikon, charged him the same because that's what I had told him. He had TMax 3200 that came out great and some real inky blacks, and I was like, there's no way I could give him these flatbed scans. It's just not good enough. And then another roll of, I don't know, more like daylight balanced, I don't know, like 400 or 100 ISO film that I scanned as well. And then on the Nikon, both those came out great. He was really happy with it. I use that as also a test to try like different levels of scanning versus scanning high and downsizing the images to what I said the size would be in post, and then also using the scanner to just scan at that resolution. Didn't really see much difference between doing those two things, to be obviously, even though I guess I'm not sure if they're both oversampling when you do it that way and downsizing it. Something else to look into. But regardless, if it doesn't look any different, it doesn't matter. So I might as well have the scanner run a little faster. One thing I'm noticing is I think I need to do a little more of getting the scanner software dialed. It's right where I need it to be, but I'm spending time making too many adjustments in post, and it's taking me too long. I think I've been spending almost an hour on each roll of film so far, and that's obviously not practical if you scale up a little bit. Right now, it's not a big deal, as I could sit in the storefront and do those edits, but that's, yeah, not where I can be. The other thing I'm doing is if I feel like it's dust from my scanner, I'm definitely cleaning that up for people, and I think that's an obligation because I just need to make sure I'm getting the negatives clean enough. I did get one of those anti-static brushes, which I found is helping a lot. I don't know why I didn't have one before, because you blow off the film and you could watch the dust really with the static jump right back on. So, and even with just normal brushes or lens cloth, it just doesn't work. And I don't actually want to be touching other people's negatives with lens cloths or stuff like that. But the problem with the Nikon is it's just so slow. 12 images, even at like 2500 resolution, is still taking almost an hour. So I really want to look into scanning with a mirrorless camera. So what I did is I threw a macro Minolta lens onto my Canon R5, which is a 45 megapixel camera. Took one of my film carriers from the Nikon, put it onto one of my old light tables, and then I have this like Sirius Studio tripod that was like for 4x5, so I could level that. I didn't even dial this stuff in perfectly. I just did a couple quick tests, and I was like, wow, that looks pretty good for just doing it really fast compared it to the other scans. And then so I'm considering getting one of those negative supply film carriers and all that, just to be able to have a setup that I could just throw stuff on, because I just watch how people run through a roll of film in no time. The difference is when I put something into the Nikon, it's just working. And so when it takes me to be hands-on to scan the film, obviously with a mirrorless camera, but it just seems like the speed is worth it. I mean, it seems like you can do a half hour before I open and run through 10 rolls of film, whereas when I am open, it takes me almost all of my open hours to get through a roll or two of film with the Nikon. The benefit of the Nikon is if it's color film, its dust and scratch removal does a really, really good job, where if you're mirrorless scanning, you're going to be doing anything you mess up in post. So a couple things that are next up, I have a bunch of color film off at the lab, so I'll be interested. I've tried their 2 levels of scans as well. I want to get much market research as I can, like what's worth doing myself, what's worth having someone else do, what do the differences look like. So I'll be excited to get that back. It's some of my film, it's some customer film, so it'll be a good test to see where I'm standing there. And if I'm not happy with that, the thing is I could always scan it myself. I'm also gonna be interested to see, because I've given some expired film, some of the crazy Harman film that is your with the like orange skies, because I find the idea of color correction with analog really interesting. It's actually one of the reasons I stopped shooting color film for so long, is because I just couldn't make those decisions. I'm like, I don't know, I was just like, what is the film and what is your conversions? And it's such a spectrum of what can happen. One thing I was saying is I believe since Niritsus are kind of the commercial standard, that a lot of people just feel like analog film is what Niritsus scan, and those, but there's still leeway with those when, because I had the option to get stuff color corrected or not from the lab I took stuff to what is color correction. So if you bought expired film because you want to see the color shifts, should that be corrected? Should I correct that? Again, I'm small enough I could have these conversations with everybody, and you know, the Mayo and Lab still had the color corrected or not, but it's just an interesting thing to be like, where is that? Or when you get a thin black and white negative, how much contrast should I pull back into it? Should I be giving them their images the way they shot them? Is that their artistic choice? Did they do that? Were they aiming for a lot of midtones? Do they not want the black point to be at black? These are some things that I'm really interested in. Again, like I said, I could have these conversations. I had a guy come in who knew he wanted his images to be more punchy. And so I developed them to be more punchy like that. And then when I put them in the scanner, I made sure the black point was at black and all that kind of thing. But that's an interesting thing because I've always developed for myself. You know, when I do black and white, I shoot it in a way that I know how I'm going to develop it, and then I know how my old scanner that I used to use was going to work. So I had a whole workflow for myself that got me to where I wanted to be. And also, if I messed up at one step of the way a little bit, I could tweak the other steps of the process to be where I wanted to be, and that was my choice. And so when it's color, like I've shown you what I've done with these slides digitally, what do you do when that's someone else's? So Memphis's scans came back the way I think, even though the one was color corrected or corrected and the other one wasn't, pretty much the way my film was shot, because they're slides, so that's pretty easy to compare. But I don't know, it's kind of interesting. So I really do think when people, I don't have a particular leaning. They're like, oh, I want my film developed and scanned. I do think using XDAL, like, you know, a full speed, box speed developer or full ISO developer, whatever you would word that as, is the way to go. That's going to give you the right grain. It's going to give you a fairly neutral scan if you nail the developing process and everything like that. And then it leaves some of the creative control to the person. And then, you know, you can kind of have that conversation of what they were going for. I think I'll find that there's some people who are shooting to be artistic, and some, you know, people are like shooting just to have fun, point and shoot, family photos, stuff like that. So it'll be kind of a little bit of a difference between those two customers as to exactly what you're going to try and get out of the end result. But I am thinking like that, going neutral with XDAL, fairly neutral scans, but with just a little bit of contrast. And then obviously you could talk to people about, are they going to edit on their own, or do they want fully finished images? The color thing is still something that, I don't know, I guess I need to work through in my mind a little more. At what step of the way and how much are you correcting anything? It's still something that, I don't know, I kind of struggle with. Another thing I got done is I needed to get some prints made for a client. I called the place that I've been using forever, which was a commercial color lab, I had the guy's cell phone. He didn't answer. And so I was like, he's felt like he's on the edge of retiring for a long time. So I was like, maybe this is just it. And so instead I remembered that I had a friend I ran into who had opened a print shop. Print shop, is that what you call it? I don't know, printing lab, printing studio. Her website was awesome. You upload the file, you pick your papers, you see the prices, it automatically tells you when to pick them up or if you're going to get them shipped back. So that's called monochrome canvas. I'm going to link her website down in the description, because whether you're local to Akron or not, this is great. And the print quality was awesome. It's kind of a bummer to, after all these years, I think, lose my relationship with the other lab. This is where I was talking a little bit earlier about catching the tail end of like the way things were done old school. When I got back into film photography, I guess this would have been 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. He was running C41 twice a week. So I knew if I brought it in Tuesday morning or dropped it in his film drop on Monday, I could get my film back on Wednesday, or vice versa with Thursday, and he wasn't open on Friday, so at least Monday. And then he was still running E2 slide film once a week at that point. Later, he like turned that to when he had enough, and then stopped doing slide when Kodak discontinued theirs, and then never brought back the process, unfortunately. So it's kind of frustrating with me. Like, I'm just used to things going so fast, and they don't anymore. Like, labs just wait till they have enough to run it, or even Memphis, they might be running it all the time, but they're, like they said, they're small, high volume. So it took weeks at Memphis. And like I said, right now I have color film at the other lab. In the first rolls I brought in, that's been a couple weeks. The second stuff I brought in, they were about to run. So I'm hoping I brought them in Monday. Today's Thursday. I'm hoping I might even get a call today and be able to pick them up. That is one of the things I wish I could do with this place, is speed, because that's what I miss. But being a one-man operation and having my other jobs, I I just can't do it right now. So I don't know. This is one thing that I'm looking at here is what I would really love to have is a partner in this. I can't hire an employee. I don't know if there would ever be the meat on the bone to do that. I've watched YouTube videos about other people who have started small labs, and a lot of them have just stopped doing it, like one-man operations. And the one I was watching was a guy who was basically just like, I'm super busy, but I don't make enough money to hire an employee and I can't keep up. It's just not worth doing. So I don't know. I would love to have a partner and maybe have some better equipment if they wanted to invest. If anyone out there, if your dream is to have a photography store and a film lab, hit me up if you're in the area, because I'm entertaining serious offers on that. But yeah, I would love to be able to up a turnaround time for people being like a small hand-based lab. The problem is, you know, again, if you scale up, then do you lose that? Do you lose what I was talking about with those relationships with the customers and those conversations? And then by offering speed, if people take you up on that, do you lose the ability to have speed? So I don't know, a bunch of stuff to consider as I have my other businesses, my commercial photography business, my cycling YouTube channel, all that. I'm limited on time and money. I don't have enough of either. I'm still enjoying this experiment and I'm gonna keep it going. My plan is, I know my hours will be more limited over the summer as I do some traveling and other things, and you know, late spring and early fall are very busy for me, and when I make a lot of my money for the year, the goal would be to hit it hard next winter here and see how everything shakes out then. So to wrap up this very long video, what is coming next here? Well, I found a second distributor who has a way better ordering system. The distributor I've been using for my film right now, I have to look through spreadsheets, copy down part numbers, go through a salesman, I have to put in those part numbers. I don't always know what is actually then going to be in stock or back ordered. The good thing about this place is they have really good prices, and when they ship to me, it takes like a day or two. But man, my time is also valuable, and the time to go through their website just to find out they don't have something or they missed something, because they did miss something on the last order. So I found a second one that their website is awesome, and basically how it works is just the consumer-facing website. When you log in to your tax-free dealer account, it just changes the prices to the wholesale prices, and then I just order on a modern platform. So just like I was saying with the print place, as opposed to how I used to have to make phone calls and knock on a door and ring a doorbell, everything is just automated the way it should be on the back end, and that's how this other dealer is. So I have an order from them on the way. Cool thing is I found some really budget black and white they were selling, so I know some people are interested in just like testing a camera to see if it worked. Should have some budget film in for black and white, but they did have a couple different film stocks that I couldn't get at the other place that are just also very affordable black and white, but just not the full blowout price. Some Polaroid for the first time, but yeah, I've got some new stuff on the way from them and I'm excited about that. A lot of film here if you're interested, and all the other services I've talked about. I also took a bunch of disposable cameras to a big bike event, and those have all gone to the lab to be developed, and then I'm gonna scan them. I have those cameras here. I'm going to offer them for like $1 or $2 because they are much simpler to open and unload. I unloaded them all for the lab than they used to be. I haven't looked into exactly what it takes. You have to be careful. There's high capacitors for the flashes in there, and you could really hurt yourself with shocking. If not, I just want to be clear that I will get these commercially recycled, and basically what they do is they reload them and sell them in other markets, but they're not, all the disposable cameras are not going in the trash, just for the record. So yeah, I've gone on long enough. This must be what, like a 20-minute video. So let me know any comments about what I'm doing, what you think about the processes, or any questions you have for me about what's going on here. I actually need to get the store open, and I'll edit this video while I'm doing that. Thanks as always for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace.